All right, so today we're going to really get into this Cosmeno realm thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's not really a place.
Right.
It's like a whole cultural thing, like a whole movement with this whole system for sharing knowledge, and like even how they have fun is part of it.
Yeah, and they're very specific about it.
Yeah. So, we're all about this kind of unique stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And one of the most interesting things to me is how it seems like pop culture and street culture kind of came together to create this whole thing.
Yeah.
In that Eingefigter text document, it talks about Cosmeno spirit, and it links that back to something called urban spirit from Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of where they trace the roots back to.
Okay, so you've got this like blend of influences,
Yeah.
and then out of that, they create this system of like access classes. And some of the names of these classes are pretty wild.
Right.
Like Film Access Ball with popcorn,
Uh-huh.
an offstage access class
Yeah.
about conspiracy theories and the afterlife, even one called Seventh Day Sound Access Class,
Yeah.
diving into religious prophecies. Like, were you surprised by just how many different topics they're trying to cover here?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to make like all sorts of information and experiences accessible to everyone in this Cosmeno realm.
Hmm.
So, things that we might consider ordinary or everyday, but also some pretty out there stuff too.
Yeah, so break it down for us. What exactly is an access class?
Okay, so think of it like a structured way to learn about like essential knowledge and also leisure activities. So things that they consider important for people to know about or how to spend their free time.
Okay.
And that word access, I think that's really key here.
Yeah.
They're trying to break down barriers to knowledge and experience and make it available to anyone who wants it.
And they really do cover a lot. Like in the document, we've got fitness, music, history, politics, even death and spirituality. Like, are they trying to create like a one-stop shop for understanding the world?
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, it seems like they want to equip people with the knowledge and skills for navigating pretty much every part of life,
Yeah.
And if you look at the structure of an access class, it usually includes like lectures and techniques. So they're combining different approaches. And it seems like the goal is not just to teach, but also to like stimulate and inspire.
Yeah, it's definitely not just dry lectures,
Yeah.
Like they've got people learning self-defense through martial arts,
Wow.
exploring music through different instruments and genres, even going on like field trips to places that are relevant to what they're learning.
Yeah, much more hands-on.
Yeah, that's way more engaging than just sitting in a classroom.
Definitely. And it suggests that that people learn in different ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're incorporating these different methods to make it more effective and also more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But then there's also this mention of like some access classes are evolving to just focus on information or entertainment. So do you think that's like a departure from the original purpose or just like a natural progression?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
It might be that they're recognizing that, like, not everyone wants to do a deep dive into every single topic.
Right.
Sometimes people just want good info or a fun shared experience.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into some of the specifics.
Okay.
One that really jumped out at me was the Cosmeno Heritage Access Class.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about teaching things like Cosmicon painting, Dine Dip, and House Lou moves. Like, what do you think those could be?
Dime dip. I have no idea, honestly. But
Yeah.
it seems like they're really into preserving and passing on their own unique cultural practices.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they're giving those traditions the same kind of importance as like history or politics,
Yeah.
which tells you a lot about what they value.
Okay. And then there's the Film Access Class, which sounds so fun.
Oh, yeah.
They cover all kinds of films and soundtracks and even film literature.
Wow.
And then they have this Film Access Ball with popcorn.
Really?
I love that they're making it a whole event.
That's great.
It's like a celebration.
Yeah, it's like they're saying film is important.
Yeah.
It deserves to be studied and appreciated.
Totally. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the Offstage Access Class, which seems to get into some pretty intense stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Conspiracy theories, prophecies, the death, even something called reverse phase. Like, why would they create a space for that kind of like questioning the way things are,
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It could be about encouraging people to think critically. Like,
Right.
don't just accept what you're told, to question things, explore different perspectives.
Yeah, that's kind of mind-blowing. It's like
Yeah.
they really want people to engage with these big ideas.
Right. And maybe even like provide a safe space for people to process their anxieties about things they don't understand.
So what do you think about these special occasion access classes?
Let's dive into those nice and see what we can figure out.
Sounds good to me.
Mm.
All right, so we're back, and uh, I'm still kind of thinking about those special occasion access classes.
Oh, yeah.
We were just starting to talk about offstage and the passing.
Right.
And something that stood out to me was that they both list temporary world news with its breaking news and news updates every hour as like a side attraction,
Yeah.
which is a weird detail to include. Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, it is unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like they're putting these big, like, abstract and kind of unsettling topics right alongside, like, what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
It could be a way of, like, grounding the discussions, reminding people that these ideas aren't just happening in a vacuum.
Right.
Like, what's going on in the world affects how we think about things like death and the unknown and all that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about offstage.
Okay.
It deals with conspiracy theories, prophecies, the afterlife, even that reverse phase thing.
Yeah.
Do you think those are topics they see as like especially relevant during certain times?
It's possible.
Like maybe they're trying to give people a way to understand what's happening around them.
Yeah, like some context or a framework.
Right.
And the document mentions worldwide crisis as a reference point for offstage. So, it's not hard to imagine them using this access class to help people make sense of things when the world feels chaotic.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's the passing, which seems to be all about helping people cope with death.
Right.
So do you think the world news thing serves a similar purpose there?
Maybe, yeah.
Like maybe it's about reminding people of the bigger picture,
Right, the cycle of life and death.
Right, even when they're dealing with a personal loss.
Exactly. Or maybe it's about emphasizing that everyone goes through this. Like death is something that impacts us all.
And they also mention visiting a public funeral service as part of the passing.
Oh, wow.
Which really reinforces that idea of community and shared experience when it comes to death. Yeah, definitely.
It seems like that's a big theme in the Cosmeno realm in general.
For sure, it seems like they're very intentional about creating opportunities for people to connect and support each other.
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with tough or emotional stuff.
Okay, let's talk about the last special occasion access class on the list.
Okay.
Seventh Day Sound Access Class.
Yeah.
And this one's all about prophecies, but not just from one religion they mention, like the Vedas, the Tanakh, the Bible Buddhist texts, the Quran.
Wow.
Even oral traditions from other religions. It's a pretty wide range, isn't it?
Yeah, very inclusive. It suggests that they're open to exploring all sorts of spiritual perspectives.
Yeah. Which seems to fit with what we've seen so far.
Right. They're not afraid of tackling big questions, no matter where the answers might lead.
So besides the whole temporary world news thing, what stands out to you in this one?
Well, they mentioned specific types of music, like spiritual music, Quran reciters, gospel choirs, church choirs.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're trying to create a fully immersive experience around these prophecies.
Yeah. Engaging all the senses. I mean, it's pretty unique.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything quite like it. And they also mentioned these terms, Sacherev and farewell rites, as references for this access class.
Those are interesting. I wonder if those are like specific events or rituals that are part of the Cosmeno realm.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some kind of spiritual significance.
It definitely makes you want to know more about how things work on the inside.
Right.
We've talked a lot about what they're doing with these access classes.
Yeah.
But I'm still stuck on the why.
Right, the motivation.
Yeah, like what's driving them to create this whole system?
It's more than just a different way of learning,
It's like they're building a whole other reality.
I think the answer might be in their origin story.
Okay.
Remember that blend of pop culture and street culture?
Yeah.
Pop culture is all about being accessible and engaging.
Right.
And street culture often has this strong sense of community and resourcefulness. So what if they're taking those same principles and applying them to knowledge and personal growth?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like they're taking the best of both worlds and creating something totally new.
And something that works for them.
Right, something that meets their specific needs and aspirations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And by doing that, they're challenging like traditional ideas about education and community.
Right.
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
So are you ready to go even deeper?
Yeah. Let's move on to the final part of our deep dive and see what other insights we can find.
All right, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into the Cosmeno realm.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, the more we learn about this, the more fascinated I get.
I know. It's really something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like every time we peel back a layer, there's another layer underneath.
It's like an onion.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about the structure of the access classes and like all the crazy topics they cover,
Right.
and even those special occasion ones. But I keep coming back to like, why are they doing this? You
Yeah.
know?
The motivation.
Yeah, it's obviously more than just like a quirky approach to education.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we got to remember that this Cosmeno realm isn't just a random group of people, you know?
Right, they've chosen to be a part of this.
Exactly. Like they've made a conscious decision to create this whole culture and like a way of life.
So the access classes are like a central part of that.
For sure, it's not just about learning stuff, it's about shaping who they are as a community.
Yeah, like it gives them a shared experience
Right.
and a common language and like a way to understand the world together.
Yeah, it's like they're building a collective consciousness one access class at a time.
That's a really interesting way to put it. And it makes the whole range of topics even more fascinating.
Right.
It's like they're saying you need to understand all of this, like history, pop culture, spirituality, martial arts.
Don't forget those special occasion classes, off stage, the passing, Seventh Day Sound.
Right.
Those seem to be addressing specific needs for the whole community, you know?
Yeah, like rituals for dealing with change and loss and uncertainty.
Exactly. It's like they're giving themselves the tools to handle those big challenges in life.
Both individually and as a group.
Right. And remember, their roots are in pop culture and street culture, which
Yeah.
are constantly changing and adapting and reinventing themselves.
So maybe that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Like, the Cosmeno realm is taking that same energy and applying it to how they learn and connect and make sense of everything.
I think you're right on the money with that one. It's
Yeah.
like they're not content with just inheriting knowledge or traditions. They're making their own.
Yeah. And in doing that, they're challenging like our whole idea of what it means to be a community and to learn and grow.
For sure. This whole deep dive has really made me question a lot of things.
Me too. Like so much of what I thought I knew about knowledge and culture and community, it's all kind of up in the air now.
I know, right? But that's the cool thing about looking at something totally unique and different, you know?
It forces you to see things from a new perspective.
Totally. So if we had to boil this down to like a few key takeaways for our listener, what would you say are the most important things to remember about the Cosmeno realm and their access classes?
Well, I think the biggest one is that learning doesn't have to be this passive thing where you just sit there and absorb information.
Right.
It can be dynamic and creative, even playful, you know?
Yeah.
And it can be a way to build community and explore the world and really grapple with those big questions.
And that's okay to break the mold, you know, to create your own path and your own culture.
Absolutely. Who knows? Maybe there are parts of this access class system that could work for other communities too.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, imagine if we took those ideas of accessibility and inclusivity and creative engagement and applied them to other parts of life.
Like education or work or even our relationships.
Right. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
Total. Well, this deep dive has been a wild ride,
For sure.
but I think we've all learned a lot. Definitely. And I think the most important lesson is that there's always more to learn, more to explore, more to discover.
So to our listener, we hope this has gotten you thinking, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's inspired you to see things differently, to question things, and to keep diving deep.
And if you're ever feeling stuck, remember the Cosmeno realm. They've shown us that even the most unconventional paths can lead to amazing things.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.